All right, chapter 5 review. Beginning with number 1, write the slope-intercept form of an equation that describes a line with y-intercept -7 and slope 2/3. So slope-intercept form, remember, is just y equals mx plus b, m being the slope, b being the y-intercept. Well, I know the slope is 2/3, so that'll be m, and the y-intercept is -7, so that'll be b. So simple enough, the equation, just plugging in the numbers, is y equals 2/3 x minus 7. 2/3 is m, and -7 is b. Number 2, find the slope of a line through the points -13, 5 and 1, -4. So slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I call this point 1 and that point 2, then that makes this x1 y1 and this x2 y2. So plugging those numbers into my formula, I'll have -4 minus 5 over 1 minus -13. So this becomes -9 over 14, because 1 minus -13 is 1 plus 13, and that makes 14. So number 3, find the slope of the line through the points. Same thing as the last one, so we'll call this x1 y1 and this x2 y2. So this would be 101 minus 241 over 8 minus 1, which, I mean, I'll let you guys do the numbers on that one. I mean, you get the point. Number 4, write an equation which describes a line with y-intercept -5 and x-intercept 3. So remember, an equation is y equals mx plus b. So I need two things. I need m and I need b. Well, remember, m is slope, b is y-intercept. Now, I already know y-intercept is -5, so I know that I'll have y equals something x minus 5. I just need to know what that something is. So to find the slope, I need 2 points, and I have 2 points. I know the order pair of the y-intercept is 0, -5, and I know the order pair of the x-intercept is 3, 0. So I'll simply use this in my slope formula to figure out what my slope would be. So 0 minus -5 over 3 minus 0, which makes 5/3. And so your equation is y equals 5/3 x minus 5. Number 5, find the y-intercept of a line which contains the point 3,7, which is parallel to the line y equals 2/3 x plus 2. Now, parallel means same slope. So although I don't really care too much about this equation it's giving me, I know my line, y equals mx plus b, I know that its slope, being that it's parallel to this, has to be the same as that slope. So I know that my slope is also going to be 2/3. But what I need now is I need to figure out what b is, the y-intercept. The equation's asking me to find the y-intercept. So if I know the slope, that's helpful, but how do I find the y-intercept? Well, it also gives us more information, the 3,7 here. This 3,7 is an x and a y value. So actually, I can plug in these numbers for x and y and then solve for b. So y being 7, I'll plug in 7. And x being 3, I'll plug in 3. And so now when you work it out, this becomes 7 equal to 2 plus b, which makes b equal to 5. Your y-intercept would be 5. Number 6, suppose the cost of a truck rental is related to the number of days the truck is rented by a linear equation. Also suppose that the cost of a 2-day rental is $108 and the cost of a 5-day rental is $243. What is the cost of a 10-day truck rental? So again, we need the equation of our line, and then we'll use that equation to find the cost of a 10-day rental. But before I can do that, I need to figure out m and b. I need to figure out what belongs in my equation. So m is slope, b is y-intercept. So how can I use the information that I've been given to find that? Well, I can create ordered pairs. Ordered pairs are points on our line. So I know that one point on our line is going to be 2, 108. This represents x being days and y being the cost. And I know another point, 5 and 243. So the x being the days and the y being the cost. Now I can use that information to find the slope, first and foremost. So slope, let's do 243 minus 108 over 5 minus 2. I'll let you guys kind of work that out. Again, I don't want to grab my calculator and do it, but anyway, so that's your slope, whatever that number is. It should be like a nice number, like 26 or something. I don't know what it is, but it should be a nice like round number. Plug that number in for m, whatever that number is, not 0, but I'm just saying like plug it in for m, and then you can use either one of these points. It doesn't matter, but take one of them. I would probably use this one since its numbers are just smaller, and plug in 2 for x and 108 for y to find your b. So I'd plug in 108 equal to whatever my slope was times 2, and then solve for b just like we did here. And then once you find b, write the equation out, plug in the 10, and you'll get your cost of a 10-day rental. Number 7, I'm going to go ahead and just straight up use my calculator. So let's boot this calculator up real quick. Yes, I know I am stealing. All right. So we're going to go to apps, and we're going to plug this system into our PolySimul app. So this one right here. And in this app, we're going to use the simultaneous equation solver because we have 2 equations and we have 2 variables, x and y, that we don't know. So we're going to call that 2 and 2. We'll leave everything else alone, and that's fine. Go next, and now plug in my system. So my system is 3x minus 4y equals 15. So I'm going to do 3 x 4y equal to 15. Now again, your calculator, if it's one of mine that you use in the classroom, obviously it looks a little different, but it's still set up and kind of functions the same way. So 5x plus 2y equals -1, was it? It was -1. -1. So input all that, solve it, and that doesn't seem right. Maybe it is right. I don't know. No, I don't think that's right. Let's go back and check. Let me double check that I did this right. 3, 4, 15. Oh, it's -4. So that was my fault there. You guys might have noticed that already. -4. All right. Now let's try it. There we go. X is 1 and y is -3. So x equals 1, y equals -3. You can also just write it as the point 1, -3. Either way. Number 8, 1 package of regular trail mix uses 3 ounces of peanuts and 4 ounces of raisins, and 1 package of super trail mix uses 5 ounces of peanuts and 2 ounces of raisins. There are 28 ounces of peanuts and 28 ounces of raisins available. Find the amount of each type of bag if all the peanuts and raisins are to be used. So the main thing here is just make the equations, and then you can just plug them in the calculator. But you need to be able to make these equations. So I always focus on my totals first because that helps me write my equations. I have a total of 28 ounces in peanuts. So what that tells me is I have an equation that's focused primarily on peanuts, and then I have 28 ounces of raisins. So again, I have my other equation focused on raisins. So let's talk about the peanuts first. I have regular trail mix uses 3 ounces of peanuts. So I'll call x my variable for regular trail mix bags. So 3x, that's 3 ounces per regular trail mix bag, plus super trail mix uses 5 ounces of peanuts. So I'll call super trail mix my y. So 5 ounces for every y bag or super trail mix bag for a total of 28 ounces of peanuts. Then raisins. I have 4 ounces of raisins for my regular bag and 2 ounces of raisins for my super bag. So there's my system. Simply go back in the calculator and plug them in and get your values. Same thing with number 9 and 10. Let's just make the equations and you guys can type them in the calculator. So the cost of 2.5 pounds of figs, 1.5 pounds of dates, and 2 pounds of nuts is $24.40. The cost of 3.5 pounds of figs and 1 pound of dates is $16.91. And the cost of 2 pounds of figs and 3 pounds of nuts is $22.93. What is the price per pound of figs, dates, and nuts? Now, keep in mind, we're going to have 3 equations here. These equations are not for figs, dates, and nuts. These equations are for prices. So our total is $24.40. Our total $16.91. And our total of $22.93. Again, I like to write those totals first because it helps me identify what I'm supposed to make the equations out of. So $24.40 is made up of this data, right? 2.5 per fig, so we'll call figs X, plus 1.5 for dates, we'll call dates Y, and then 2 pounds of nuts, we'll call that 2Z. So X, Y, and Z, X for figs, Y for dates, and Z for nuts. So the next equation, I got 3.5 pounds of figs, so that's going to be 3.5X, and then 1 pound of dates, and dates are Y, so that'd be 1Y. I have no nuts in this one, so it would be 0Z for 0 nuts. And then the last equation's got $22.93 as a total, 2 pounds of figs, again, fig is X, so it'll be 2X, and 3 pounds of nuts. Nuts is Z, remember. So I don't have any dates here, so 0Y, but I have 3 pounds of nuts, so 3Z. So there's your inequality, or not your inequality, your equation. When you go to your system, you have to make sure when you go to your simultaneous equation solver, you change it to 3 equations and 3 unknowns, and you should be able to plug everything in and get your answer. All right, and then lastly, number 10. So Ted's Toys makes airplanes, boats, and cars. Materials used are plastic, wood strips, and steel. Each airplane uses 80 grams of plastic, 15 inches of wood strips, and 200 grams of steel. Each boat uses 40 grams of plastic, 90 inches of wood strips, and 40 grams of steel. And each car uses 40 grams of plastic and 160 grams of steel. If Ted has on hand 8,600 grams of plastic, 2,175 inches of wood strips, and 27,100 grams of steel, how many planes, boats, and cars should be made to use up all the supplies? So again, look at your totals. We have totals for the materials. We have 8,600 in terms of plastic. So we'll have a total equation for plastic. We have 2,175 inches of wood strips. We'll have equation for wood strips, and then 27,100 grams of steel. So we'll have an equation for steel. So let's focus on the plastic first. We have an airplane. I'll call airplane X for my X variable. 80 grams of plastic, so 80X, 80 per airplane. Let's find boat. We'll call boat Y. Uses 40 grams of plastic, so 40Y. And then each car, we'll call car Z, uses 40 grams of plastic, so 40Z. All right, now we'll focus on wood strips. So we have each airplane uses 15 inches of wood strips, so that'll be 15X. We have a boat uses 90 inches of wood strips, so 90Y. And a car uses no wood strips. Car doesn't have any wood strips, so 0 for Z, 0 for the car. And then one more for steel. So we have planes use 220 steel, so 220X for the airplane. Boat uses 40 grams of steel, and a car uses 160 grams of steel. So there's your inequalities. Type them in the calculator, get an answer, and you should be all good to go. Okay, so I think that one was fairly straightforward, fairly simple. If you guys need anything, do let me know. I'm going to end it there. I'll see you in class. Bye.